Look me in the eyes and tell me hand on heart that you are being your full potential, that you are living out the vision that you once set in stone. Because if you are, congratulations, you're not stretching yourself enough, and I'm not the right person for you. If you know that there is more for you to be, that you have a bigger mission, a bigger calling, a vision so big, so powerful that you're almost not even sure what it requires of you to get there, but you just feel it deep in your heart and soul that there is a bigger thing pulling you like a big freaking magnet. This video is for you. Only watch this if you are desiring to go bigger than ever before and you want to learn the energetic and strategic principles, the secrets that will bridge the gap. You're at a space right now where the old you doesn't feel like you anymore. Maybe the people that you once surrounded yourself with, you can't relate to. Maybe the clients that you once called in, who were once dream clients, now don't feel like they're expansive. Maybe the price points you charge, the way you did your content, the relationships, the identity that you were in feels outdated. It feels misaligned. But the next step and the vision of where you secretly deep in your soul know you want to be, the income, the success, the impact, the relationships, the depth that you are desiring, the level of client that you want to work with, the conversations that you want to bring to your spaces, they feel really, really far away. Because right now, you are in the no man's land, the in between knowing that you kind of need to evolve from this old version of you if you want to grow, but simultaneously being dragged down like roots of trees because it feels so safe, so comfortable, so grounded in that identity. To leap to this version of you who's achieved every other thing that you desire, who is playing her full game, living out her mission, living out her calling, it feels like you have to, it's almost like you're a balloon and you're cutting the snips of the balloon string. And that means you're going to flow out into the air with no idea where you're going to land, where the wind is going to take you, whether you're just following this crazy vision that doesn't make sense. Your logical mind fights to try and keep you in this safe, grounded tree space. And congratulations, because this space is where most people give up. And if you're here on this video, I am so thankful that it found you because you need to hear this in order to let yourself fly. By the end of this video, I want to give you the mindset, energetic, strategic tools to know that as you do cut those freaking ties with that old version of yourself that can't come with you in order to get to who and where and become the version of you that you want to be, it's going to take some snipping. And that's scary as hell in this no man's land where you don't have the security that we are literally primally designed to crave and need. I want to start this off by saying that when you grow at exponential rates, you feel this over and over and over again. I remember the first time that I felt this was when I was really getting success in my business for the first time ever. I was young. I was 21, making 5 figures a month. I was surrounded, like I was at uni at the time. I was around people who didn't get why I wanted to work in the evenings. I was not engaging in things like gossip, right? People wanted to gossip and talk shit. I'd leave the room. And I was really starting to separate myself from the people that I really once loved so dearly. And I still loved them so much. And that's what made it even harder because I loved the people. I loved them so much. But there was an energetic mismatch between who I was becoming and who I knew I wanted to become and who they were. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with them. It's different phases of my life and their life, right? I was also in this place where the price points that I was charging didn't align anymore. The mentorship programs that I was in didn't align anymore. They felt very step by step. They felt quite constrictive. They felt my way or the highway. And it all felt like, okay, I'm in this stretchy space right now where I know I want to leap to a different place, right? I want to go somewhere new. I want to feel the excitement and I want to really live out my full potential. I didn't want to follow the boxed in strategy that everybody else was doing. I wanted to be fully me. And that required so much inner work and so much grounding within myself to be able to know that the other things that I was using to anchor in my identity I didn't need them because I was rooted in myself and my belief. And this is where, again, like loads, most people will go and stay in the comfortable and they'll like edge forwards a little bit. So you'll know that you want to change your friendship groups, for an example, and then you'll edge forwards, but then you'll go back to the default. Or you'll know that you want to increase your prices. So you'll increase them. And then multiple people might say it's too expensive, and then you back down and you lower them again, or you launch loads of low ticket challenges, right? And these patterns emerge to keep you safe because it is the safe zone. And this is where I remember at this time, I worked with a mindset coach and we did some cutting the cord meditations. And those cutting the cord meditations were so freeing. They were so freeing. And actually, I'm going to put one in the description for you guys because it literally is so freeing to me to know that actually you can cut the cords between the things that were keeping you safe, to know that you are safe, supported, guided in whatever you do because of your identity, because of your belief, and because of the bigger picture. And so when I let myself fly, took a lot of pep talking. When I let myself fly and I let myself fully evolve into who I was here to become, everything changed over and over and over again. And I've done this multiple times throughout my business. I've done this in evolutions of calling in different levels of clients. I've done this in different evolutions of speaking about one topic and then realizing, you know what, like I feel like I've outgrown this a little bit. And the beauty of self leadership, particularly within business, is being able to know when you have outgrown something and when it is okay to let things go. Simultaneous to this, also the self leadership piece being, and I'm not just saying like keep outgrowing your clients, to set up a space and to set up a container, environments, coaching spaces, product spaces, whatever it is that you sell and do, to allow people to evolve with you, to bring people up, right? I love the quote of like, when the tide rises, all of the boats rise. So you can actually be the tide and you can call everybody up to rise. But for you, this means that you have to be the one. I remember through multiple iterations of my business, I've had this like heaviness, this like, oh, shit, I am the one that has to lead now. And initially it felt like a bit of a burden. Like, why do I have to be the one to experience all of the hardship first? Because I keep being the one that has gone through the shit, gone through the storm, walked through fire in order to give other people the lessons of it. And it's tiring, it's exhausting. I feel like I'm carrying this responsibility that I have to be brave all the time in order to give other people permission to be brave. And for a really long time, that felt like a big burden, right? To, like we said at the start of this, in between that gap of like going from where you once were to going to where you want to be, it felt like a burden to be the person that always went first, to be the leader of my people, right? Of my clients, of my family, of my relationships, to know that whenever I evolved, it gave them all permission to evolve. It felt like a burden knowing that when I went and pursued my goals, it inspired my family to go and pursue their goals. And it really took me some time to reevaluate this and go, wow, I have clearly been given a gift. And if this is you, you have also been given a gift, whether it's from the universe, God, whatever you believe in, you have been given a gift to help others rise up, whether it's in their belief in themselves, whether you give them pep talks and motivational, right? Or you simply just lead from your embodiment of just going for it yourself. The amount of change that I've evoked in my family, in the relationships dynamics, in, my mum, she's gone and started her own business. She's going to get her NLP qualifications. She's gone and done so much mindset and healing work, not because I said you need to do this, but because she's seen who I've become from doing this work. And This is truly the power of in this gap between where you once were and where you desire to be. It really isn't about the affirmations or the meditations or the journaling. And while those things are important, it it's really about how you lead yourself, like how you respond to situations, how you see things, how you see the world, how you perceive things, how you make things mean stuff about you. And when you can hold the levels of belief as you embrace the gap and as you embrace this thing between the two, is really about shifting your identity. And that brings me on to my next point. Okay. As you are going from where you once were to where you want to be, you have to be brave as hell. And it's such a gift to be the leader that pioneers. But what this does is it creates a bit of like fear because you as a human are always seeking the evidence, right? Our brains, our logical part of our brain, and also the emotional for the safety reasons, really seek the evidence that it's going to work. But of course, you're going to somewhere you've never been before. You're becoming someone you've never been. You're going about a new business way that you've never done before, right? You don't know how people are going to respond. You don't know if people are going to sign up. You don't know if people are going to respond well to it. You have no idea. It's literally like you're in this void. And that's why I say you're like a floating balloon because you have no idea where the wind is going to take you, right? And this is where most people give up. Most people collapse because they want proof before they feel as though they can embody that next level. And so this is where your identity is the most important thing. And so what we want to do as you are going from this point to that point is you want to get really, really clear about who that version of you is going to be. Because of course, like if you're just this floating balloon, you've snipped it, you're just this floating balloon, you have no idea where you're going, you don't really know what the vision is, you just know you want more for yourself, you don't really know who you need to be, you don't know how you'll handle challenges. Of course, there is dissonance. Of course, your brain feels fried. Of course, you feel so overwhelmed, so scared because you don't know how to handle it. And so, this is where visualization and the really stepping into that next level identity, this is what I call embodied CEO, because this is the embodiment of the Be Do Have methodology. This is where you start to anchor in the identity of who that's going to be. Okay. And so what happens is you start to think about, okay, this version of me that I really desire to become and the results that I desire to have. What would that look like? What would that feel like? Who would I be? How would I respond to challenges? What would I be saying? What would I be posting? What would I be wearing? How would I treat my finances? What boundaries would I have in my relationships? Who would I cultivate more relationships with? How would I cultivate those relationships? What's important to me in a relationship? If I'm thinking about the version of me who makes the amount of money that I desire to make with the impact in the business that I desire to have, what would that look like? And then you start to think about all of these things, the identity, and you start to anchor in that identity and think, how can I bring that now? And what this does is rather than you going from these really strong roots to being a balloon, is it starts to bring this balloon down. It's like the balloon fills with oxygen and it's coming down, 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 right? It's getting heavier. And the balloon starts to root. The balloon starts to root, but not here anymore, but over here. And it starts to root in again, like let's use the tree reference, it starts to come down and you start to ingrain new beliefs, right? New beliefs, new thought processes, new ways of seeing the world, a new identity, a new frequency, a new energy. And this actually starts to become really, really rooted. So now you see how, in order to get from this place to this place, and you're this free balloon, you start to anchor it in and you start to really ground it through firstly being the embodiment of what you say, right? So embodying that next level before you get there. Again, I've got a workshop in this somewhere. I might also put this in the description. My Be Do Have workshop. You really want to think about what that version of you would do, be, and have, right? So who she would be, what she would wear, what she would think, how she would run her business, the boundaries, you know, the things that you say in your content, right? Is your content prepared in order to reach multiple millions of people? Are you thinking this far ahead? Are you believing that that is possible for you? How would you manage your finances when you have multiple seven figures coming in, right? These are the things that you need to think about. How would you want your team structure to be? Because this starts to create this anchored and rooted identity for yourself, this embodiment Because as you release the balloon and you're going from this place and into the unknown, it's actually not that unknown anymore. It becomes really familiar because you have mentally rehearsed and you've really understood who that version of you is going to be. And your identity, therefore, has evolved before you see the physical evidence in the 3D reality of what it is that you desire. And so when you get there, it's not this like, oh my God, how do I handle this? I'm this like floating balloon and I have no idea what I'm doing. And I'm just this free bird because that energy is very unsustainable. It's very unpredictable. You can very easily get popped. You're in this state of like, I know who I am. I know what I'm here to do. And when you get there, it's like, no, like, of course I'm here. Of course I'm here. And so this space, this like void between where you were and where you want to be is really like the testing ground. I really see this as like, this is the test of your leadership. And so if you say you desire these things, in between letting go of the old version of you and evolving into the new version with the success that you desire and becoming the person who can handle that level of success and who is a match to that level of success as well, in this void space in between, this is where your self leadership is sacred. This is where who you be in every single moment, how you respond decides everything. Because if you panic when, let's say you're met with a challenge, right? You're wanting to, let me just give an example. You're wanting to charge higher ticket. But what ends up happening is you now need to speak to a person, speak to a leader who is available and desires to pay higher ticket, which means the service has to elevate. The positioning, the offer positioning has to elevate because you can't sell it in the same way. So as you're starting to speak to this woman, you have to be fully anchored within that. You're like, oh, okay, that's a big responsibility. You now might have some dissonance with your current clients who feel like your content doesn't relate to them anymore. I had this. I had people say, like, your content, I just don't feel like we're on the same page. I don't feel like I can relate to you because you're speaking about scaling and I feel like I'm at the beginning stages. And it was really difficult because I'm like, holy shit, okay, I can either change my content back to make these people feel safe and seen and heard and understood, or I can know that when I elevate my leadership and I speak to a higher level of woman, the tide rises, right? The tide rises, the boats rise, and the people that desire to go bigger and that are bought in and believe in their vision, they believe in their mission, and they believe that they are capable of anything, they will rise and they will come with me. And the others, they will stay behind. And I can't control that, but you can't continue to keep yourself small in order to keep those people safe. And so this is the void, this is the gap, and your levels of self leadership in that moment and staying true to your vision, staying true to the belief and the faith in the possibility beyond the faith and the fear, right? You can either believe in your vision, believe your work, believe in your mission more, or you can believe in, oh, actually, I don't think it's going to work for me more. And you get to decide that. It's always a choice. And so this is the incubation phase between the two. And this is so sacred and it's so important that you continue to be in the identity of the woman who can handle it all as you go throughout this. Because I feel like this is like the testing zone. I literally see this as like, oh, okay, I get multiple tests in this phase. And whenever I get tested and I have challenges and I have dissonance and I have like this uncomfortable feeling, I'm like, yes, this is great. This is so good because this means I'm in the middle between leaving the old me behind and stepping into the new me. Okay. And the second thing is really knowing that your belief is a behavior and your identity, I've got notes, your identity is built not through what you say, not through what you want to believe, but who you are, what you do, and who you be in every single moment of the day. It is not enough to simply visualize your desires if you argue with them. And if you argue in defense of your fears more than you do in defense of your vision. And it's so important that at every moment of the day, you are acting in alignment with the identity of you who is achieving the desires that you want, at least for the most part. Persistence, consistency with the actions, with the beliefs, with the thoughts, with the identity. Obviously, you're going to catch yourself sometimes not being in alignment with that, and that's okay. We just come back to what we desire to be with no guilt, no shame, nothing. And staying in this and believing in the possibility, no matter how long this incubation phase takes. And so, what ends up happening is where you feel like the outside belief doesn't match and the outside doesn't fully reflect and mirror to you what your internal beliefs are, I guarantee that there is either some part of you that is not believing it's fully possible, you're like a balloon, so you're not fully grounded and rooted, and therefore it feels unsafe. And sometimes what I also see is like clients get stuck at certain income levels, not because they of their strategy or because they don't want it, but there is a part of them that fears who they will be on that other side, and they kind of fear leaving people behind. They fear having more responsibility and leadership. They fear knowing that it means they need to hold firmer boundaries with family, with friends, with clients, with everything, knowing that it might mean that obviously with more followers and more visibility might come hate, might come people that don't like you, might come people that think that you're a scammer, or all these things. And sometimes the contrast and the fear of the contrast, the fear of the duality that comes with that is the thing that holds you back. And so it's so important to understand that if you know in your heart and soul that you are on the way to your next level, to stay with the vision, to stay with the identity, and to really allow it to ground through doing the inner work, through doing the actions and putting in the reps and being persistent with the things that it takes and the bead you have. So the identity, the beliefs, the thoughts, the patterns, the actions and the behaviors, and therefore the outcome that you will eventually get, no matter how long that takes, and detaching and knowing that on this journey of evolution, and as you become the version of you who can handle all of those things, you are going to be met with challenges, but the challenges are the invitation to give yourself the opportunity to show and flex the identity and the you that you're meant to be. So I hope and I trust that you find this training and that it helps you right now if you are in this middle position, or you've noticed patterns of where you've been in the middle before and you've given up and you've gone back to the safety because you were scared, right? And you maybe self-sabotage, you've upper limited. I know I have done it one too many a time. And I so hope that you take this and you apply it and you learn from it and you understand really what it looks like to be in this phase of the gap, and how it is a pivotal part of your journey, and it's not something that's avoidable. And so you need to be the woman who can handle it. And also, this is where really deep, great mentorship comes in. With my one-on-one clients and even in my mastermind, my expertise is in reflecting this back to you and helping and leading you through this process and mirroring back to you these patterns, these beliefs, these thoughts, combined obviously with the strategy, so that you can collapse time, right, of the void, so that we can collapse the time of it and quantum leap. So if you feel called to be really served and be held with a higher level of support and leadership, I have both one-on-one mentoring, which I take like less than 5 clients at a time. And then I also have the mastermind, which is a group space where you also get a lot of deep level strategy. And so if you feel called to have more support and join one of those spaces, I'll leave the details in the description. I hope you loved this episode as always. Please like, share, and subscribe if you feel called to and if it feels aligned with you. And I'm so grateful to have spent this time with you, beautiful human. And I cannot wait to see the work that you produce as you continue to trust yourself in this gap, in this void, and shift your identity and evolve into the you that you know that you can be. Okay, bye.